Hey, it's Earl Hickey here again with another prediction for you, second one of the day. This time I'm going to be having a look at big British fight, heavyweight title fight coming up. David Haye versus Audley Harrison. Um, I mean, this fight has got a lot of abuse on the forums and from the online community, and I can definitely see why. But for me personally, I'm kind of happy to see this fight. Reasons why: I'm actually a fan of both fighters. Well, definitely have been a fan of David Haye for since before he won his cruiserweight titles against John Mark Mormek, going back quite a way. I'm a fan of his style. I'm a fan of the trash talk. Not a fan of some of his recent actions, has to be said. You know, I don't want to go off on a tangent, but I definitely don't agree with the way he's handled the Klitschko fights. You know, but that's another story for another day. Audley Harrison. Well, yeah, I guess it's hard to say that you're a fan of Audley Harrison without sort of, you know, with keeping a straight face. The guy really is a legend in the UK for all the wrong reasons. You know, I've followed Harrison's career since. Well, since before he won his gold medal, which was a long time ago. Watched with interest, you know. There's been highs and there's been some very low lows as well. But I think the one thing about Audley's career is it's always been entertaining, even if the action in the ring hasn't. Sort of everything surrounding it has been quite fascinating. And I think, you know, there's a story here really with Harrison. The amount of abuse and stick that he's gotten over the years, it's been enormous. It's quite shocking at times, actually. I mean, you know, the guy's talked big, and so far he hasn't really delivered. But you know, he's not a sex offender or anything like that. And some of the hatred he gets is almost worthy of a sex offender. You know, and I think, you know, I'm all up for a laugh and a joke and that sort of thing, but I think sometimes it's gone a bit far with Harrison, you know, and he's gotten more abuse than he deserves. And in a way, you know, it's good to see him now finally get the shot that he wanted. You know, he's stuck around, he's given it his all. He's going to be 39 come fight night. You know, it's taken him what, almost 10 years longer than he said to win or to get a title shot. But I think the guy has to be given credit for putting up with everything he's put up with, not quitting. You know, he could have quit and gone on to reality TV or something like that, but he stayed there even through the lows. And you know, I for one am glad that he gets this little bit of justification. He's going to get a big fight, a big payday. Probably this will be his last fight, you know, so he gets to cash out. And you know, hoping he gives a performance in the ring that will, you know, maybe make some people feel a little bit differently about him. You know, as I say, the fight's gotten a lot of abuse, but I can see why it is being made. As I say, Harrison in the UK, legend for all the wrong reasons. Everyone knows him. He's transcended boxing. You know, you ask anyone in the street really who Audley Harrison is, and they will know who Audley Harrison is. You ask them who Floyd Mayweather or Manny Pacquiao is, and if they're not a boxing fan, likely, you know, that they wouldn't know those names. So he does bring name value. And sorry, those fans that you were asking there, if you ask them who Ruslan Chagayev is or Thomas Adamek is, and they definitely wouldn't know, you know. So from that point of view, Harrison makes sense. You know, he's not that bad. He's not as bad as advertised. You know, okay, he's not world class. No, he did win the prize fighter tournament, and he did beat Michael Sprott, albeit, you know, at the last minute to win the European title. But if you look at it on paper, Olympic gold medalist, European title winner, decent record. Historically, that's not bad. You know, there have been much less qualified people that have fought for the title, so he's not a complete bum. You know. And he's not an old 40-odd-year-old legend that's coming out of retirement or something like that. He's okay. He's average really as far as a contender is concerned. I would say, personally, you may not agree with that, but that's my view on it. You know, there's not much else around in the heavyweight division apart from the Klitschko brothers. As I've said, I'm not a fan of the way Haye's sort of conducted himself with regards to negotiations and things like that with the Klitschkos. I'm not in possession of all the facts. You know, you get a different story from all of them, really. You know, Vitaly says one thing, Vladimir says another, Haye says another. Everyone's got their own opinions on what's happening there. I know I have got my opinion on why the fight hasn't been made, but again, that's for another day. But other than the Klitschkos, like I say, who have you got really? Thomas Adamek. He just fought Michael Grant recently. He's not going to be ready for another fight, you know, till February, something like that. Who else we got? Ruslan Chagayev, you know, good fighter, but wouldn't, you know, financially the fight wouldn't do anything. And I think as far as legacy goes, it's not a huge fight. I think, you know, for David Haye, the only opponents really that are going to mean anything are the Klitschko brothers. So if he's not going to fight them, he may as well just take a big money fight, a big showcase fight. That's my opinion on it. If he's, you know, serious about what he's saying and he's going to fight those guys next year, if he fights and beats Vladimir Klitschko next year, no one's going to care who he fought before. You know, Ruslan Chagayev becomes irrelevant if he beats a Vladimir Klitschko. Audley Harrison becomes irrelevant if he beats a Vladimir Klitschko. So I can see why he's, you know, going this route, the money route, cash out and then go fight one of them. Fine. You know, going to be big in the UK, big money fights, so makes sense for those reasons. On to the fighters. Oh, see, I've already talked for 7 minutes about this. Anyway, Audley Harrison, going to have to rush through this now. His advantages in the fight: he's a big lump. You know, look at the picture in the video window again. Haye's advertised at 6'3", Harrison's advertised 6'4.5". Harrison looks at least 5 or 6 inches bigger than Haye. So either Audley's, you know, 6'6", 6'6.5", something like that, or Haye's only about 6 foot. Either way, Harrison a lot bigger. He does have a decent left hook. Takes him a while to land it. You know, he's not really been landing it against moving opponents, but he can do damage. With David Haye's chin, if you've got a good decent punch, you've got a chance of winning. Also, this is the biggest night of Audley Harrison's life. There is a chance that he's been fighting down to the level of his opponents, and perhaps, knowing how serious this is, knowing how it is his last chance, perhaps we will see the very best of Audley Harrison. Perhaps there's more, you know, more in the tank than we've seen of him. He did pull it out at the last minute in the Sprott fight. You know, he did pull it out in the prize fighter, and he did pull it out in the Olympic final. So, you know, for all we know, Harrison's just been cruising along while he's fighting these mediocre opponents, and we're going to see something more from him. You know, can't count on it, but it's possible. You know, Harrison, decent skills, decent counter puncher, not terrible. You know, not a terrible fighter at all. But you know, if we have a look then at Haye's advantages over Harrison, the list's kind of endless. You know, Harrison has the size advantage, but that's about it really. Speed and movement, Haye is miles ahead. He's so much faster than Harrison. You know, Harrison in this fight, he'll probably look like he's wearing concrete boots because he is slow. He only really throws it at stationary opponents. You know, and Haye's just light years ahead of him in terms of speed and movement. As far as the power goes as well, Haye hits harder than Harrison, you know, I would say. Haye has power in both hands. The right hand is haymaker, as he calls it. Also been showing power with his left hook. He's got the power to hurt, you know, I would say pretty much anyone. John Ruiz, definitely one of the best chins in boxing, in heavyweight boxing. If Haye can hurt him, you know, and if he can hurt Nikolai Valuev, which he did when he finally threw a meaningful punch in the last round of that fight, I think he can hurt anyone at heavyweight. He can certainly hurt Audley Harrison, who was knocked out cold by Michael Sprott. So, Haye has the power advantage as well. Haye's fought the better opponents. even a guy like Enzo Macronelli really is better than anyone that Harrison's fought. John Mark Mormek definitely better. Nikolai Valuev, for all the abuse that guy gets, he is a tough opponent. He is tricky. He might be slow, but the guy's about 100 stone and about 50 foot tall. Difficult opponent, better than anyone Harrison's fought. John Ruiz, better than anyone Harrison's fought. Monty Barrett, better than anyone Harrison's fought. Fragomeni, or however you pronounce his name, better than anyone Harrison's fought. You can go on and on. Haye has the better resume. So, adding all that up, it doesn't look too good for Audley, does it? And, as much as I would like to see a fairy tale ending to Audley's career, I just don't see it happening in this one. The only question for me is when Haye takes him out, It could be at any point, really. Haye has the speed and power, I think, to get to Audley at any point in the fight. It's just, will it be early or will it be late? From all the trash talk and everything leading up to the fight, I get the feeling that Haye really wants to do a job on Audley. And he's definitely got the ability to do that. But at the same time, Audley's cagey. He does have his size to his advantage, and I'd like to think he could hold out for a little while before Haye gets to him. Haye also, even though he's powerful, even though he's quick, he's a counterpuncher himself. He's not usually an all-out offensive fighter. You do see him come forward and tear into opponent occasionally, but it's usually not until he's figured them out. So I'm going to predict Haye stoppage, and I'm going to say it comes early. I'll give Harrison a little bit more credit than most, and I'll say Haye stops him in the 5th round. I think Audley might hit the deck before then. I do think Audley's going to run. As much as I'd like to see him come forward and go out in a blaze of glory, I think he's run from much less dangerous opponents than David Haye. And the first time he feels he either feels a punch or he sees one go winging past his chin and miss him by a centimetre, he's going to start running. He's done it his whole career. So yeah, basically that's my prediction. Haye in the 5th round. Could go longer, could go shorter, and there is a very, very small chance that Harrison clips a wild Haye and takes him out early. It's not worth betting on for my money. I think the odds on this fight are terrible anyway, so it's not worth betting on. Just enjoy it. But yeah, that's my opinion on the fight. Just sit back and enjoy it. It's a good show leading up to it. We've had some good verbal exchanges. Hopefully we get a good couple of rounds in, and then onwards and upwards in 2011 for David Haye. We hope. Wait and see on that. Thanks for listening.